And just look at that, will you? 3 grown men, slack-jawed in amazement, gaping with awe at the mighty dash. We're on the ground at KEGE here in Vail, and we're going for a very quick hop over the mountains to Denver, and then on to Omaha, Nebraska, as we continue our transcontinental, transoceanic, and ultimately around the world journey in this fine airplane. So we are going to do this as quickly as possible. Our cruising altitude is going to be 17,000 feet. And that is set. Check our flight plan here. That is set as well. Turn on our auto feather. Bus tie is on. Heats are off. Lights are off. Turn our anti-collision to red. Turn our APU bleed off. Flip our start switch to 2. Shut the door. Check for our gear pins. And there they are. We don't have to worry about that. Set our runway heading, which is 069. Taking off on runway 7 here. All right, we will turn off our nose wheel steering. Call for push, get started, and get going. Push nose right.
Ground, we are ready for pushback.
We are ready now, please release parking brake.
Okay, so we'll start this in 1 second.
Parking brakes released.
Pushing back now, you're clear to start the engine number 2.
Okay. We've got our bulky, see what I mean? Our bulky condition levers. Oh, don't you just love that? Getting new ones for Christmas. Gotta do it. Thank you, SciTech. Got sort of close quarters here. So we'll stop right there before we hit the CRJ behind us.
Pushback complete, set the parking brake.
Okay, pop the brake back on. Put our nose gear steering back
Parking
on.
brake set. Can we get clearance at number 1?
Control is free and clear of nose gear. Clear to start the engine number 1. Have a nice flight.
Okay, that condition lever works marginally better. Set our flaps to 10. Bring up number 2 to full. Turn off our APU. Turn on our bleeds. Turn them to min. Turn all of our heats on. Taxi light can come on. Anti-collision can come to white. Logo light can come on. Set our landing altitude for Denver, which is going to be 6. Done and done. And turn on our standbys. Turn on our auxes. Set our trim. We're just blazing through these. Let's just cross-fill our flight plan. Done. Pop that back up and done. Check our weather and see that we don't have any weather, so start it up. 2966. Wind is favorable. We'll set our altimeter to 966. Like so. Done. All right. Release our brake and taxi on out of here. Try to remember to turn our gust lock off when we take the runway. Try to make record time here as we trundle down the strip. You can see that big hill off in the distance there. That is why they generally don't run approaches into runway 7. I know they do departures off runway 7, but not sure how they arrange things. As you can see, we're expediting our taxi here, but we're still staying within limits. Pop that off now. Get ready to go. Check our trim. Check our rudder trim. That is cool. That's about as fast as we can taxi. That's southwest speed. 25 knots. And much as we'd like to take an intersection departure, I think what we'll do is we will do the full thing because we're high up in the mountains and we've got a decent amount of fuel on board here. I'm just using the pedals to steer at the moment, and the pedals have very limited authority. They only can steer about 5 degrees, give or take. So here we are. And there ain't nobody coming. So just take the runway. We're basically going to fly out on a heading, make then a 3-degree turn to the left at about 500 feet above the ground, and then we're going to turn to 021. So let us, without further ado, head on out of here. See how slowly we're accelerating? That is the altitude. There's 80. Here we come, V1, and rotate. And gear up. So we're going to fly this heading for about another minute or so. flaps. And we're 1,000 feet above the field. Bring our props back. Bring our nose down. Intercept our course. And pop us into IAS mode. Briefly pop the autopilot in. Turn off our pumps and our auxes. Bring our bleeds up. And we are good to go. Our lights. And that is the river we followed to get here. And right down below us is the shopping center we used as our landmark to turn to final. And I'm going to pop our weather radar on here. Pop it over into the right-hand side. Tilt it down a couple degrees when we get up to cruise. And keep an eye on the weather, especially keep an eye out for icing. So our heading is going to be to 021. The rest of this SID here. This is the Gypsum 5 SID, if I'm not mistaken. And again, this is going to be the shortest of short hops. We're going to be at cruising altitude for, I'd say, all of about 5 minutes before we come into Denver. We will take the following approach. And this is the RNAV Z to runway 7. Approach course, oddly enough, is 082. Let's check our elevation is 5352, 12. 12 is set. 5352 is set. That's for our HUD. And look at that weather we got coming up here. This could get fun coming into Denver. Last I checked, it was overcast, but a reasonably high ceiling. This is spectacular, though. Okay, picking up some ice. Let me just show you. See how we're starting to ice up on the little spigot there? So, up we come. On they go. In they go. In our haste, we didn't seat the passengers. I hope they're not still standing up. Shame on me, I know. I don't like to think I'm getting lax. I hope I'm not. Trim our rudder, and while we're there, set our decision height to 200, which is what it is for this particular approach. And in a second, we'll set our V-speeds as well. Also check our weather in Denver. 2976. All right. Set 2976 and stand by. So what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of runway 7 here, and it's going to roll us practically up to the gate, and then we're going to do a very quick turnaround and try and get out as fast as we can on our flight to Omaha. Okay, we're at our cruising altitude. And as you'll see, we're almost at our top of descent as well. We need to be at 7 at Taylor. Set Taylor, which is number 4 in our list. At 7. And that's a little steep, so we'll make it. There we go, about 3 degrees, and we're 10 minutes from TOD. Pull our props back now that we're at cruise. And we do have a tailwind, but it's not much. Spun the wrong knob there. I don't know about you folks, but that just scared the crap out of me. Practically jumped up in my chair when that happened. Wow. Well, that's cool. Let's see what it's doing. Outside. Fuji Tempesta. And look at that. That is a solid chunk of ice there, and that would be on our leading edges and our control surfaces and our engine intakes if we weren't running our boots. Wow. We're getting pelted. And this is probably not the best altitude to be at. Luckily, we won't be at it for much longer. So we went from rain to snow, and as you can see, holy crap, that is just a solid chunk of ice there. Look at that. Look at how well they model it. Let's go outside, see what it looks like. Our surfaces look good. Alright, the mighty dash comes through. And we're going to be going down to 7,000 feet in just 1 second. That is set. And see what our weather radar is painting. And it is painting a semi-ominous picture. Not too awful, but there are little intense patches throughout all of this, like that. Alright. So we're going to keep our speeds up. And that is a lot of crap hitting us. It's also knocking our frame rates to hell because the GPU has to basically render clouds 2 or 3 times to get the transparency right. This is when you need a second GPU. It's a shame we can't see anything, because if we could see some really incredible terrain. I got a little peek of it right there. Let's see where we are with respect to our TOD, 3 minutes away. Let's look and see what kind of ice we got there still. We still got a little bit, but not a lot. That's good. And since we are now coming up on our descent, now we will... You know, I keep getting that backwards. We will not seat our passengers, they're already seated. I'm a million miles behind on that. Alright, so now that we're enunciating VNAV, we can make it a formality. And just tweak our trim a little bit. These are quite some clouds. And sometimes you will not be able to see bad stuff because there's other stuff in the way, so you have to wait until you get just a little bit closer, and then you get a nasty surprise if you're not careful, because one set of weather can screen the other set of weather, as it were. Or moisture can screen moisture, I suppose you'd say. As we wait for top of descent, which should be literally in 60 seconds. And how do you like that? It is literally in 60 seconds. And we're about 10 minutes from our final approach. Fix. Second, I'll come off the power. Wow, we're in the soup. And we're going to beware of mountain currents that will rotate off of the hills here into the flatland right around Denver, and it tends to give you a shove as you're coming down, and it'll tend to extend your descent if you're not careful. As we creep towards TOD. And we finally do hit it. Down we go, down goes the power. And since we're in a hurry here, we're going to try and expedite our descent. Again, we'll constantly tweak the rudder trim because although the dash is mighty, the yaw damper is not. And before we go any further, we'll set our V-speeds. Make this V-app not there. This, the V-app right there. A little higher, 134. And I get the feeling we're going to be struggling to render cloud and ground texture as we get closer to Denver. We're going to be landing at Flight Beam's KEGE-KDEN, which is a magnificent airport, but it's very, very CPU and GPU intensive, so we'll see what happens. Pretty damn nice looking clouds, though. Alright, since we're descending, I'm just going to tilt our radar very slightly up because it's probably pointing too far beneath us at the moment, so we'll just have it pointing straight ahead, see if that gets us any more intelligence. It does not. And we're 10,000 above the ground. Turn our lights on. And bring our bleeds to min. And turn our pumps on. And again, I'm doing this early because I don't have a first officer. And that is set. Let's see if I can arm my approach yet. I don't think I can. I can. Alright, our approach is armed. You see when it does, it extends a white line to the end of the runway. And we're deliberately slam dunking ourselves in here just to try and get going quick. Our frame rates are abysmal. And this is on a beefy machine. This is on a X99 chipset, 5820 clocked to 4500, and an NVIDIA GTX 980 Ti. So it's nothing to sneeze at. Alright, we've got no terrain to speak of because we just left the Rockies. Slow us down a bit. I believe that airport is Centennial, but I'm not certain. It would help if I knew what the airport designator was, but I think it is Centennial. And as we come over Denver, look at this. It's just like populating the suburbs as we go along here. Okay, 10 to Sarah, and we need to come down 4,000, so we're not going to make it. Just want to experiment with something. Right now we're at 8% torque and we're coming down at 1.2. Let's bring back the power here. And it shallows out our descent, okay. But then it goes back to our... No, it still keeps it shallow. And if I'm not mistaken, those are floating houses. Floating something, wow. It's a flock of ranch houses, kids. Look out. Doing a little stutter as we load some scenery. I hope we don't have terrain issues at Denver. I tried flying this the other day and it had the old runways in the canyon sort of deal. I think our ice is gone. Let's take a look. Ice is gone. Alright, that helps. Turn off our anti-ice. And we're turning final. Turn on our taxi light. trim deal right here. Only make it smaller. Be capital. Alright, there it is. That way when we've got the HUD up, you can see what we're doing. Bring our scale down. There we are. Bring our speed down. Put in our first notch of flaps. Come on, let's get below 200. Good enough for government work. Bring out the power. Bring down the HUD. Wait for our approach to arm, which it should momentarily. Set our heading to runway heading. On a nice approach speed. See where our nose is? It's just a half a degree nose up, that's it. And we will spin ourselves down to there. Looking good. And the approach will arm as soon as we cross Taylor, I'm guessing. It'll activate. Give me.
2500.
Bring in the gear. Bring up our cheat. And set our props to reduced. Like so. Bring in the rest of our flaps. And prepare to fly the airplane. Let's let the speed come off a little bit. Got a little bit of a crosswind from the right. A little bit of a crab going. Feed in a little more power. Looking good. Not looking perfect, but looking okay. Lower energy than I want to be. I forgot we're at altitude. That's where we want it. Right there. Right like that. And we're going to land long because we're going to go for that 4 high-speed turn off there because we want to
500.
have a short, quick taxi and a very fast turnaround. Just crabbed ever so slightly in the wind here. Matter of fact, if we can roll out to the end,
Minimums.
it would be even better. So let's do that.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Just grease it on here. Look at that. And we'll roll down to the end. With the world's shortest taxi at Denver. There's the terminal. We'll find our gate. And we'll vacate before ATC bitches at us too badly. 12,000 feet of runway, though. Does make you stop and think. Now we're going to do a quick turnaround, and we're going to get going for Omaha. So, we're going to see how fast we can do it. We'll pretend like safety comes last. Quite an airport, and quite a piece of work from Amir at Flightbeam. Man knows his stuff. And loves his work. Look at this place. This is like taking a drive in the country. It makes DFW look tiny. Alright, well what we're going to do is we're going to cut this here and leave it at this because this is going to be longer than our flight. So next flight is from here to Omaha, Nebraska, and then on further into the heartland, probably Kansas City, maybe St. Louis, and then on up to Montreal and across the Atlantic. But at the moment, as we go past the one of the many fire stations here at Denver, we will say goodbye for the moment. And as always, let me know what you think. And as always, if you want to see more, let me know. And subscribe and tell your friends. And wow, look at this. This is a frickin' trip. And sorry, as I sit here and marvel at this just monstrous complex here, I'll see you next time.